Good morning. Are you excited to be here? Some of you don't seem so. I'm here again this morning. It's a wonderful morning. It's a wonderful place. And while I was sitting here in the band, I was thinking to myself that I have the opportunity to help lead a group of people in worship the same way that Andrew gets to lead the band. And just like Andrew, the music is written. The description of what needs to happen is there. He just guides a group of people together so they can get to the same place and produce this thing that's a blessing not only to God himself, but to the people that are in this room. This is like a music and art Sunday. We had the opportunity to hear music. We've had the opportunity to see things that are around us that maybe we just don't pay attention to so well. You look on the program and you see this weird title. What about these brushstrokes? What's he talking about? You see, I see church often very similar in the way that I've seen other places that I've been throughout my life. I love going to museums. Anybody ever been to a museum? Nobody, huh? Of course you've been to museums. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go with my wife over to Paris, and we went to the Louvre. You walk into this palace, you walk into this place that was constructed for one purpose, but it's used for an entirely different reason. And the line is incredibly long before you get into the building. And in the sunlight, it feels like it's taken forever. And we were there towards the end of the day, and then while we were going through, of course, the kids just wanted to see the Mona Lisa. But we watched other people that were just moving. They were just flying. I imagine some of them could run if they wanted to, but I'm sure that security would have stopped them. And here they are in this place that's designed to observe what's going on, what's around them, the art, the instruction that an artist leaves, and they miss everything. Church is like that sometimes. You think? Let's try a little exercise. Just take a moment, close your eyes. Listen to the surroundings around you. Sometimes you can feel the breeze of the air conditioning. Sometimes you hear the traffic outside. You observe your friends that are around you. But sometimes you miss the message that's right here in this room. With your eyes still closed, think. Can you tell me what the banners in this room say? Go ahead, open your eyes and look around. I see banners every time I walk into this room. And the banners tell us something about God's wish for us or his will for us, but we don't pay attention to them. Oh, I'm sure many of you can see the ones that are behind me. But almost every one of the musicians would see the ones that are on the balcony. Did you know they were there? Hey, you can take a look. A heritage of faith. A future of promise. All of these things are scriptural. They're in our scripture. They're in the teaching for today. Genesis chapter 12 is about God. Yet when we first look at this painting, we don't see the brushstrokes that God has given us because we look right away to what man is and what man has done. Very easily, I could look around here and say, well, what's the story about? And the answer most often is Abraham's faithful. Right? That's easy. Abraham built altars. missing brushstrokes here, folks. You got to understand a little bit about Abraham before we can even go into what Abraham did. We talk about the fact that he was 75 years old when this started, but I'm telling you that it happened before that. If you look in the book of Acts in chapter 7, when Stephen is being judged by the Sanhedrin, one of the very things he says is, listen, Abraham's faith, his belief in God, didn't start at 75 years old. His relationship with God started way back when he was a child, in Mesopotamia, in Ur. You can look, Acts chapter 7, it says so. What was the place like that he was in? Well, that whole area was polytheistic. People believed in many gods. They didn't believe in just one. Most of the gods were regional, so when you moved into a new region, you had to learn how to praise and worship a different god. You had gods of fertility, you had the moon god, you had all of these different gods that you had to be able to deal with in order to get what you needed and what you wanted. So Abram grew up managing his gods. Sounds like a pretty simple philosophy. I can manage my God, can't I? But this story is a little bit different because Abram had been building and learning and having a relationship with God for a long time. Yet when we look at this scripture, we look at it and we think he's 75. Now it's time to go. Now he's figured out what's going on. This is the first time God speaks to him. We miss a lot. There's a brushstroke. I have 3 different titles for points in this sermon. And they all start with CO. God is the CO. God is the commander. He's the corps officer. He's the one who gives the instruction. He's the one who writes the music, and we're trying to follow it. The very first point is that God commands. God commands. If you look with me in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. Go from your country, your people, and your father's household. It's a command, isn't it? It is a spoken command. It is an instruction. It's there for you to see. It's not an invitation. It's not a suggestion. It's not something that's just put out there and maybe you can answer it. It is a distinct command. Do this. You're no longer managing me. I'm managing you, is what God is saying here. Leave everything that's familiar, everything that you've had. He's a rich man. He has a house with 318 people that are they're instructed. They know what's going on. They're commanding. They're just able to do things. He has 1,500 people in this family group. His father is a ruler. And God says, leave all of that. Leave everything. Leave this solid place that you've lived with solid, strong walls and go live in a tent. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? I think it's interesting that God tends to ask people who are busy to do something else. You ever felt that way? Why does he ask the busy people? Why does God ask busy people to do other things? They're involved. They're in motion. They have influence. They can fulfill what he wants them to fulfill. Look at this in this way. God speaks. He's the initiator of this command. He's the instigator. He's the one who is interrupting a life that was rich and full to an extent. So the very first thing we see in the scripture is that God commands. Easy CO word, right? You can remember that one? The second thing that God does is that he commits. Take a moment, take a look at the scripture, and then we'll read it again. I will make you into a great nation, verse 2. And I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. There are actually 7 commands or 7 commitments that God makes to Abram. 7 of them. The first is, I will make you a great nation. Now, in this, we have to understand that God is not telling him the same thing that we see in politics today. Make America great again? That's not what he's saying. What God is saying is that he's going to make Abraham, his family, a nation. It's relational. It's a group of people that are together because God has put them together. And we find this, the story isn't an ending here. Because Abram thinks, I'm 75 years old, I'm never going to have any children. And in order to be a great nation, I have to have children. It's all relational. It's an inheritance. You see, no matter how wealthy he is, if he has nobody to pass it on to, he's not great. He's given a future. He's given a lineage. He's given a legacy. He's being told, your name will not die. The second thing kind of gets a little bit confusing. I had a friend who I used to go and say, hey, how you doing? And some of you may know him just by these words. He would say, I'm blessed. Maybe you have a friend like that. And this gentleman, every time he would say, I'm blessed, I would look at him confused, and he would say, why are you confused? I'm blessed. And I had done a Bible study and learned that there are 7 different meanings for the word blessed. Did you know that in the Bible? 7 different meanings for blessed. I'm going to give you the list of them, but we're not going to see every brushstroke today, but we'll see a little bit of it. The blessing is both a verb and a noun. It's an action, and it's something that you hold on to yourself. It's divine favor. It's empowerment. It's human praise towards God. It's spoken praise from man to God. It's spoken praise from one to another. It's a gift that's bestowed on someone. It's a blessing from the Spirit. And you can bless one another as well, just being here. So why do I mention all of those? Well, because if you look in these verses, that word is used several different times. And I'm not going to go through everything totally because this is a great Bible study. If I had my way, I'd be preaching a sermon for the next 6 hours, and I think the battery on my iPad would last that long. Maybe not everybody else would, but I will make you a great nation. We talked about that. So in 2, I will bless you. God is saying that I am going to be with you. I'm going to empower you. The promise is I'm going to empower you. I'm going to be with you. And the things that you do in my name are going to be totally powered. I will make your name great is the next. What's that so big a deal? Everybody has a name. It's not talking about Abram's name itself being great, but the fact that people are going to recognize that Abram, because he was set aside by God, was an important person to be with. He was an important person to follow. In this case, I will make you great is talking about his holiness. It's not fame. It's not about being the Michael Jordan. It's not about being some other important person that way. It's showing that your holiness is there for other people to witness and see. And you'll be remembered because of that. I know a lot of people in this room even that are remembered that way. You will be a blessing. Oh, there's that blessing thing again. Again, it kind of gets a little bit confusing, but this word, when it talks about blessing, is talking about the fact that you are the way that God, Abram, is being delivered to people. And people are being delivered to God. In the easiest kind of instruction for people here that know a little bit about electricity is this thing called a conduit. It's a pass-through. It's a way to be able to be connected directly to God. Abram is a blessing. He is the conduit. He is the way that people will learn about God and be with God. I will bless those who bless you. I will show that they can too be a conduit. And then it says, I will curse those who curse you. In this case, the best thing that I could figure out with this was that God is saying, if people don't follow the things that you're doing and teaching, they'll be separated from me. For others in the New Testament, they would find out that that is an indication of hell. Then it says something that's interesting because it talks about land. And we talk about Israel all the time, and people see that this is a place where there's always fighting about what is owned and what should be somebody else's. The land that is given is to offspring who are following God. And the word offspring that's used is actually very vague. It talks about people who are biologically his, people who are spiritually his, and people who he's accepted as his own. So not simply his offspring, but all of those who follow the things that he's taught. It becomes a work of art. You ever go to a piece of art and look at it and say, wow, that's real artistic ability? It represents real artistic ability, but the artistic ability still stays with the artist, doesn't it? The land itself is a representation of the promise. It is an icon that shows that God's promise is a real promise. It's alive. Honestly, we could spend a lot of time just on these verses. But the idea is to remember that God commands, and then God commits. The third thing that I see in here is that God confirms. Now, it goes a little bit past the verses that we read. But if you look at verse 6, going through 9. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh in Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring, I will give the land, this land. So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he went on towards the hills of Bethel and pitched a tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abraham set out to continue towards the Negev. All right, a little break. You see, because all of this is relational. And sometimes having an idea of relationships helps us understand a little more about God. I have the blessing of having 8 children. Sometimes it's a blessing and sometimes it's a little scary. One of my sons still lives at home. His name is Joshua. And as I get a little older, it's hard to do some of the things that I like to do. So often I call on Joshua and say, Joshua, I need your help. He doesn't know what I'm doing most of the time, but he jumps up and he helps me. Josh, I'm not strong enough anymore to lift this. Can you come and help me with it? And he'll help me with it. And I find that it's important for me to remember that it's not always asking him what I want him to do for me, but reassuring and confirming to him that he's important to me more than the things that he does, just because he's my son. Josh, you're not just here to work for me. You belong to me. You're mine. You matter. That's confirmation. That is an assurance that you're more than just the work that you do. I think Abram needed that. You see, we look at him as some kind of superhero, a Superman of God. We look at him like somebody who could just do anything. But you got to think about this. At 75 years old, people thought he was nuts. What are you leaving all of this that you have? Why are you leaving a solid house? Why are you going to a place that you don't know about? Why are you taking 1,500 people on a ride? Why are you walking through the wilderness? Why are you going 800 miles out of your way? You already own everything you need here. God does something different here because he had spoken to Abram already. And when he said go, just so you have a better understanding, when he said go in this, the idea of the Hebrew is written in such a way that it matches very much Genesis 1:1, where Genesis 1:1 says, God created the heavens and the earth. Full stop. And then it talks about the continuation. In this case, God tells Abram, go. It is a command. It is an instruction. It is a word. Just like God spoke the world into existence, he gave this instruction to Abram. But this confirmation was a little bit different because instead of just speaking to him, God appears. He shows up. He says, I'm here. And I'm here in the place that I've promised for your generations. Not only did I tell you about this place and tell you to go, this is where it is. To your offspring, to everyone who follows you, I keep this covenant. God says, this is my work. This is my art. This is my promise. You see a little bit more of the brushstrokes that maybe we've missed in the past? I hope so. Because there's still one that we're missing. You see, we see what God has done for Abram. Now we can go back to the thing that maybe everybody was looking at before and think about what Abram did. little bit different perspective on the ark. God commands. God commits. God confirms. 3 distinct brushstrokes. What does Abram do? Abram moves. Abram moves. He worships. He walks the land. He builds an altar for others to see. And he follows a voice that has been speaking to him for years. Abram's not passive. He's not just sitting around. He doesn't have to ask God, "Are you sure this is right?" God's commanded. He doesn't have to say, "Do you really want me to do this?" God's committed. I don't know, Lord. I don't know if I can do this. God confirms. We've had a lot of opportunity to come here and worship. We can rush worship. We can run through this Louvre. We can miss all of the points that God has given us. Or we can take our time and look at the art that God has created for us and look at the brushstrokes. Maybe we don't understand everything that the artist has actually done, but you study. You learn. And then you take the things that God has told you to do, has given you a command to do, and you move. You don't sit where you're sitting. Whether spiritually or physically. You don't stand and watch everybody else worship you or worship God himself around you. You move. You ask God to move in your life. Are you willing to move in your life for God?